Welcome to another autograph tips and discussion video. One of the things that commonly I get comments or emails even sent to me are, remember the great sports. I'm really excited for watching your videos and I just don't know how to get into autograph collecting like you do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you some terminology that is floating around the Facebook pages, the autograph forums, and all these places that people collect autographs. So if you're a new viewer or somebody that's new to collecting autographs or somebody that is just interested in collecting autographs, this video is for you with the terms that I'm going to use. If you're a veteran collector, this video is probably not the best video for you to watch. Many of these terms are almost like reflexes to us now. I personally have been collecting autographs for almost 30 years, whether that's been in person, whether that's been through the mail, what have you. I've picked up some ideas and some thoughts over the years on how to most optimally have successes through the mail or in person. And I just want to share with you some terminology. I have about 10 or 11 that I'm going to share with you. And if I overlook something, feel free to comment down below saying, hey, I don't understand what this means. Or I don't understand what this is about. I've never heard of that. And if I can help you, I will definitely respond. I commonly have people ask me for addresses. Now, this is something that I'm going to say about addresses. I feel that players' addresses are a private thing, okay? I don't feel it's my place to post somebody's personal information, whether it's an athlete or even a person that's a non-athlete, out on the internet. That's just my personal beliefs. Now, with that being said, there are many websites out there that specifically allow you to find addresses of former athletes in just about any sport. I do not endorse any of these because I don't want somebody that operates those websites to say, well, you prefer this website over another, yada yada. I use them all. I use a combination of all of them to try to get the most optimal results. Now, am I 100% perfect? No, I'm not. There's a lot of trial and error when it comes to autographing through the mail, just as there is autographing in person. Well, today I'm going to focus more on through the mail autographing, and I'm going to share some terminology with you and go through and dissect each one of those as we're approaching the spring training is right around the corner. So you guys might want to put some autograph requests out there in the mail or work out a deal with another autograph collector, and we'll touch on that in a second. All right, so the first term we're going to talk about is simply TTM. What is it? Well, TTM is short for through the mail. So if you see somebody saying, I TTM this, or I got a TTM back, for example, through the mail Thursdays, which is a series that I put together, that's what TTM stands for. Simply through the mail. The next term that I want to share with you is IP. Now, if TTM means through the mail, you can probably guess what IP means. That means in person. That means that you go to a stadium, you go to an event, you go to a public signing, you go wherever you go to collect autographs, and you get that person IP in person. That's what that means. All right, so the next term that I want to talk about is 50-50. I've said this, a few times in some videos and even some comments that I said, and some people are like, well, what, 50-50? What's that mean? Well, it's a very, very simple term, okay? And what it means is roughly, say for example, I'm just going to pick some random prospect cards out of my collection here. Say, for example, I want to get Corey Abbott's autograph, okay? Well, I may not have the opportunity to see Corey Abbott, but I might be on a Facebook forum or I said that together. I might be on an autographing forum or a Facebook page, group that says, hey, Corey Abbott, I'm going to see him in a minor league game next week. Well, what you would do is you would work out the details with whoever the person is that's going to see him, and you would send one card for you to keep, and you would send another card for the person getting the autograph to keep. Thus the term 50-50. They get half of what you send them. So let's say you want to double. How many you send? Well, that would mean that you get 2 back, and the person that gets them signed gets to keep 2. And so on and so forth. So you send 6 total. That means you would get 3 back, and the person would get 3 to keep. And you can keep going, forever, for an infinite amount. You split it in half, 4 and 4. So that's what you call a 50-50. Now, I'm not saying that Corey Abbott signs 8 cards at a time. So if you see this, Corey, I apologize. I'm just using your card as an example because I have many duplicates of your card. So that is what a 50-50 consists of. All right, the next term that you're going to see commonly on autograph forums and Facebook pages is the term consignment. And what that means is the individual, and again we'll go back to Corey Abbott, the individual is going to see Corey Abbott. They are offering their services to get your autograph, or to get your card signed, I should say. So there is no set price. There is no, this is how much Corey Abbott's worth. As the star quality goes up, the more it usually is going to cost you to get somebody to get them signed. For example, if you're going to spring training and Don Mattingly, the manager of the Marlins, is there and he's good about signing autographs. Well, somebody may say, if you send me X amount of dollars, I will get you Don Mattingly. Okay? Now, that's fine. Now, in comparison, somebody like Corey Abbott, they might be like, if you send me X amount of dollars, I'll get Corey Abbott. And usually, Don Mattingly versus Corey Abbott, an unproven minor leaguer, is not going to cost you as much. But the bottom line is, when you see the term consignment, that means that somebody is wanting to take your item and you compensate them for their time. Now, what that means to you, I would highly advise to never send cash, okay? If you work out a consignment with somebody, if they're not willing to get your item signed before you pay them, I don't know if I necessarily would deal with that person. That's just my personal belief. I've done a few consignments throughout my autographing. I personally don't do them too often, but if there's a situation where I direly need a certain card signed and it's affordable, I usually work out a deal with the collector that's getting the autographs to say, hey, I want, Lee Smith, for example, up there. I didn't pay for that Lee Smith, but Lee Smith is going to be at a card show. Can I give you $20 to get this Lee Smith card signed? And if they don't get the item signed, they don't charge me any money. Meaning, Lee Smith is at a signing, but he only signed 1 or 2 items per person, and I'm sorry I couldn't get your stuff signed, and they just simply mail it back to you, no problem. But if you send them cash, you're never probably going to see that cash again. Now, most of the deals that I work out are, I'll get your stuff signed, you can PayPal me or send me instant money, however you guys do that, through banking, however, after I get the item signed. Now, if you do it that way, they're probably going to hold your item until you send them their money, which is understandable. But when you're exchanging money, things can get really ugly really fast. That's all I have to say. I have been burned a few times, throughout the years. And if you guys have horror stories, definitely feel free to share them below. But long story short, that's what a consignment is. Alright, so another term we're going to talk about is prep cards, okay? Now, if you guys recall, I did do a video a while back about how to prep your cards for autographing, okay? I will post that at the end of this video, but prep your cards, there's actually a couple processes in this, okay? Number one, what cards need prepped? Again, check out that video, but a card, going back to our example here, Corey Abbott, okay? That card, because of its shiny gloss, and you can't see the gloss, I'll try to hold the gloss up to the light there, but you can see that gloss on there, okay? Well, if you don't prep that card, there's a high likelihood that no matter what they sign in, I mean, Stadler pens are the exception sometimes, that card will either get smudged, bubbled, or something that is not desirable. Okay? Now, an example of a card that doesn't need prepped are cards from this era. So that's a 1992 Donruss, for example. Okay? You wouldn't need to do anything with that. This is a 1992 Topps. Again, won't have to do anything with that. This is a 1985 Topps. Again, the gloss isn't there. But if you recall from my prepping cards video, there are a couple vintage cards, like the 1980 Topps and the 1981 Topps, that have a weird kind of shine to them. And any of the Topps Tiffany or Fleer Glossy, any of those glossy type cards from the 80s and 90s, you definitely want to prep for an autograph. So that's what prepping for an autograph means. And I use the method of baby powder. I baby powder the card, I wipe it off, then I have it prepped. Some people like to use erasers, other people just don't do it at all and prefer to use Stadler markers. So it's whatever your option is. But that's what that term means, prepping your cards. Alright, so the next term I'm going to use, and we're going to change this up a little bit because I got more Bowman Draft, but we use Tyler Freeman as our guinea pig for this discussion. And say, for example, you're going to see Tyler Freeman, not in person, but you're going to send your cards to Tyler, not to Tyler through the mail, but you're going to send them for a consignment or a 50-50 or whatever. Well, tagging your cards simply means that you affix something to the back of the card, okay, so that you have a way of the person to keep your cards straight. And what I do is I simply use these mini post-it notes, and there's many forms of post-it notes that you can buy. I mean, these are the most basic ones that you can use. I mean, you can find them at any dollar store. But what I do is I write my name on the back of the card, or the back of the post-it note, then I affix it to the back of the card, and then my name is on the back of the card. And then if you send this to the person to have them help you get it signed, whether it's a 50-50 or a consignment, they know that's your card. Because I have seen, I've been a collector for a long time, and I've done 50-50s and trades with a lot of people. I have seen people that, the best way I can put it is, bite off more than they can chew. Meaning, say for example, Tyler Freeman is their home team. He plays for a minor league team that they see like day in and day out. Well, this person may ask for an exceptional amount of Tyler Freeman cards, and then mid-season Tyler Freeman may decide, I don't like signing anymore. I'm kind of burnt out for whatever reason. Players have their reasons for signing, but I'm just not going to sign as much as I did, say, in April or in spring training. Well, then this person has promised to get something signed, whether it's for money or for a 50-50 or a trade, to get something signed, and now they can't fulfill that end of their obligation. So say, for example, this person had 40 cards of Tyler Freeman that they were going to try to get signed throughout the season, for various individuals. Well, if Tyler Freeman decides, hey, I'm only signing one card, I'm not signing multiple cards for you, well, you're kind of in trouble because you bit off more than you can chew. And I've seen a lot of people have a lot of fights over not fulfilling their end of the bargain, so to speak. And that has upset a lot of people, and that's why you got to really watch who you deal with. I have been burned many times by people assuming that they're going to get my stuff signed, and then I get it back at the end of the season. That's if I get it back. I've had people keep my stuff before and never see it again, and then I'm highly disappointed. I've had people hold on to my cards of people that I was going to see in person because I assumed that they got them signed for me. So I didn't ask for them back, or I very well could have gotten them signed myself. If they would have just simply told me, hey, I didn't get them signed, can I send them back to you? As a longtime autograph collector and somebody that has traded and done 50-50s with people, I can tell you, I appreciate you being honest with me. I would rather you say, hey, this came up, I just cannot get your stuff signed, I'm going to send it back to you so maybe you can find somebody else, or maybe you can get it signed, on your own. I would rather you do that than hold on to my cards to some arbitrary time in October when the season's over and then I can't get it autographed. You basically held my cards hostage and I couldn't do anything with them. So, be careful who you deal with is my best thing when it comes to that. So that is tagging your cards. All right, the next terminology I'm going to say is get in blue. Now you're like, get in blue? What do you mean by that? Well, get in blue means that you want the person to get them to sign your item in blue Sharpie or blue Staedtler pen. Or this can be a blue ballpoint pen or whatever. Well, if you don't specify to the person that you're consigning with, 50-50ing with, trading with, whatever, they very well may get a item of yours signed in any color that they wish. I personally like to collect my cards in blue, okay? But if you're expecting somebody to get something in blue and they return it to you signed in, I don't know, green or pink Sharpie, you kind of be like, excuse me, I paid you $5 to get this card signed and you got it signed in a pink Sharpie? What is that about? Now, I understand the higher the level you're trying to get an autograph from, the tougher it is to make this request. In some instances, this is out of the control of the person getting the autograph. One instance I can think of is you're at an autograph signing, at a sporting goods store, it's at the baseball stadium you go to or whatever. Many times they sit the athlete or the personality down with their own pens. Sometimes it's a hassle for you to request, hey, can you switch pens? It happens. The second example is the level of celebrity or sports athlete you're asking. If Michael Jordan comes out to sign autographs wherever you're at, and he's got a black Sharpie, a pink Sharpie, or a green Sharpie in his hand, he's probably not going to sign for you when you say, hey, get it in blue, get it in blue. I've talked about the blue Sharpie debunking theory. There are celebrities and athletes out there that think if you collect in a blue Sharpie, you're automatically a dealer because you're going to sell autographs. That is not the case. I'm living proof of that, okay? I simply collect in blue Sharpie because of the fear of what might happen to the autograph with the hazing effect with a black Sharpie. Now, will I take an autograph in any color Sharpie? Absolutely. But if it's in my control, I prefer to get it in blue. Now, another method that people use is what they call Staedtlers, and I don't have one with me. I have one somewhere, but Staedtler pens are more fine point, and this might actually be what Dave Cowens signed this card with. If you can see, that's a very fine point Sharpie or a Staedtler, as opposed to Lee Smith, who I got this in person from, that signed in a blue Sharpie that I handed him. So the problem with Staedtlers that I've had is they dry out really fast. And if you can see the fading on some of the streaking on the Cowens autograph there, that's what a Staedtler does as opposed to a Sharpie. So I tend to stay away from Staedtlers for that reason, because I would really hate to find out that when I'm getting a Hall of Famer's autograph, my pen doesn't work. I feel a Sharpie has a longer shelf life than a Staedtler. Now, the next thing I want to say is, and I'm not going to get into too much detail, but keep your lid on. I mean, if you're standing there trying to get an autograph, for an hour like this, your Sharpie may dry out on you, especially if it's cold. I mean, if you're standing out at Lambeau Field getting Green Bay Packer autographs in the middle of January with your pen cap open, your Sharpie may not work, and you may be at the mercy of the autographer then. So that's another terminology I want to share with you, is getting blue, because you may see that come across, some of the boards in the forum. The next thing I want to touch on is the term SACE. What does that mean? Self-addressed stamped envelope, okay? And what that means is you put a stamp, okay, on an envelope with your name on it, so the person can mail it back to you after they sign your item, whether that's a through the mail request, or whether you're having somebody get your card signed through a 50/50, or a consignment, or whatever. You have to include a SACE. Don't expect somebody to pay for your postage. All right, proper postage. We're going to talk about proper postage here. Do not expect people to pay for your postage. If you are working a deal with somebody, you have to include the proper postage for them to get it back to you. If, we'll use Tyler Freeman here and Corey Abbott, for example, here, okay, again. Now, if I send all these cards to you, okay, and you're going to get them signed, and let's say I'm expecting all 6 of these to come back to me, okay, 6 cards to me is like the max that you can shove in an envelope to get it back to you, okay? If you're going above 6 cards, you're probably looking at multiple stamps, and you have to at least accommodate the person sending it back. This also goes for people sending through the mail when you're directly contacting the athlete. If you don't include proper postage, they're not going to send it back to you. They're just going to keep your stuff. So make sure you have proper postage. Now, there are circumstances sometimes that maybe you're out of stamps, or you couldn't get to the post office, that maybe you can throw a few bucks in the envelope to say, I'm sorry, I couldn't get to the post office, but I put some money in there. Now that stamps are more than 50 cents a piece, you have to put more than $1 in your envelope. So obviously you don't want to put change in an envelope, because you can feel that through the envelope and somebody will steal it. But I don't advise putting cash in any envelope, because if there's any indication of money being in there, somebody will steal it. I would more advise putting the self-addressed stamped envelope and maybe some extra stamps in the envelope to send to the person. That way they don't have to go to the post office for you. So the next thing, bubble mailer. What is that? Basically, a bubble mailer is something that you can get at just about any office supply store, Walmart, or wherever, or even dollar store. And a bubble mailer is simply something that you can place your cards in to send more than one card of. You know, if you're getting past that 6-card threshold, this is the item that you want to send. Now, this is going to cost you more to mail, and it's also going to cost you more money to get it back there. But there are people that like to send their own Sharpie in the mail, and that's where the envelope comes into play. And you just simply stick the Sharpie inside along with your cards, and then you send it to whoever you need to send it to get your stuff signed, whether it's a consignment or directly to the player themselves. So it's going to cost you more to do that. I personally rarely send Sharpies to anybody unless they're like, I need a blue Sharpie because I don't collect in blue. You know, I have come across like, hey, you know, remember the great sports? I only get guys in black Sharpie, so if you want me to get a blue Sharpie, you send your own, and I'll do my best to get them to switch pins. I've done that. You know, it happens sometimes. So that is what bubbler or bubble mailer means, is you need to include a bubble mailer. All right, so this final term, PWE, is what I refer to as plain white envelope, okay? Not just me, but everybody refers to that. Now, this is a official letter-sized plain white envelope, and what I do is I take one of those, and I take a smaller-sized envelope, and I place that inside of the plain white envelope to get the return self-addressed stamped envelope back to me. So this would have your name, your address, and a stamp in it, or 2 stamps if you got more than 6 cards. So the one thing I do want to point out, though, is make sure that when you mail something that you are using security lined envelopes. As you can see how that's a security lined envelope as opposed to this envelope that is not. Well, with this envelope, you can clearly see the outlines of cards in the envelope. Whereas if you have the security lined envelope, that's a little harder to see. I'm not saying you can't see them, but you can definitely tell the difference. Okay? Now, one of the other things that I do is whenever I send something, and I've shared this with my TTM Thursday videos, is I do one of 2 things. Either I shove it with some index cards inside the envelope. So you simply put the cards, index cards in the envelope, and then you place the cards inside between the index cards, and that gives you an extra layer of protection between the cards in the envelope in case it gets wet, in case it gets run over by a car, whatever. The other method that I use, and this is the more common method that I use, is I take, sorry I dropped my envelope there, what is called a team set bag, and I place the card in a team set bag like so, and you just simply place the cards in the team set bag like so, and then the athlete usually seals it up and mails it back to you, or the person you're dealing with, whichever it might be. So, in closing, I know this video is a little bit longer than I like to typically make autograph tips and discussion videos, but I just really wanted to address a lot of the feedback and comments that people have been giving me lately. You know, I put these videos together to help you build your autograph collection. That's ultimately what I'm trying to do with this video series, along with my TTM Thursday video series. I want you to rekindle that childhood. I want you to go out there and start getting some autographs. Maybe if you're just starting out as a 10-year-old boy or girl, you know, collecting autographs, I want you to get out there and just really start collecting them and being conscious. I want you to have some of the best autographs out there. And, you know, Jason Kidd, Lee Smith, and Dave Collins, all are all Hall of Famers. I mean, Kidd's not in yet, but he's going to be. So I always say, be realistic on who you're trying to collect. One of the joys that I have is trying to get minor league players before they hit it big. I've spent a lot of money and a lot of time collecting autographs for minor league baseball players, and sometimes it works out and other times it doesn't. For every Mike Trout, Miguel Cabrera, Clayton Kershaw that I get in the minor leagues, there are 10 guys that I get that never make it, and their cards are basically worth pennies, autographed. You know, they're not worth anything unless you're, you know, collecting a certain team or a certain set maybe. But that's what I enjoy doing. There are people that are in the hobby for other reasons. Whatever your reason is, you know, that's your personal business. I'm just sharing with you my personal love for collecting autographs. I'm not looking to gain anything. I just want to share the knowledge that I have to inspire you, whether you're a young collector or an old collector looking to get back into it, or somebody that's just exploring another collecting avenue. I hope that this advice and these terminologies that I have shared with you are valuable, and that you can learn from some of the mistakes that I've made over the last 30 years of autograph collecting. So again, I'm more than happy to help you guys out. My email address I'll list down in the description. Feel free to email me anytime. I may not respond right away, but I do try to respond the best that I can to comments and emails. I do have a full-time job outside of being on YouTube. So thanks for watching. I hope some of these tips you guys can use, and I hope that you can add some guys like Jason Kidd, Lee Smith, or Dave Collins to your autograph collection. Just do your research, and I think you'll be very happy with some of the results that you do yield through your autograph collecting. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to your comments below.